Hey friends, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel. So over the years, I have covered a lot of really cool guitars. From double neck guitars to fan, fret, headless models to strats made from ancient wine barrels. I think I can honestly say that I've checked out some pretty cool stuff. But despite that, everything that I have checked out before is gonna seem pretty tame in comparison to what I have to show you today. The topic of today's video is the incredible, the legendary, the totally insane MAB rocket guitar. MAB, of course, stands for Michael Angelo Batio, the shred master himself. And he was actually cool enough to be part of this video, as you'll see in a minute. But first, let's talk about the guitar itself, and in particular, the one I have here. What's so unique about this? Besides, just look at it. I can tell you right now, this is the only rocket-shaped 29-fret aluminum-topped guitar in the world. That's right, 29 frets. Just look at this. The fretboard just keeps going. And aside from that, those 29 frets are on an ebony fretboard, and you've got two pickups here, a humbucker and a single coil, because that's all that they had room for, and of course a Floyd Rose bridge. Now to me, the craziest part about all of this is that although this was a limited run, this guitar I'm holding right here was an actual production guitar, not just a one-off custom piece. And with it being a regular production guitar, it had a regular production guitar price. When these guitars were new, you could buy one of these for about $800. Okay, but now let's talk about the history of this guitar. Where did this come from, and what was the point of this guitar? Well, yes, I remember 2014 like it was yesterday, back when Dean Guitars was actually doing things that I found interesting. It was that year, 2014, when they released a limited number of these Dean Michael Angelo Batio rocket guitars. But when Dean made it, it was sort of a reissue. There had originally been two of these guitars made for Michael Batio back in the day in the early 90s when he was in the band Nitro. Okay, but who better to tell you about the real history of this guitar than the man himself? Okay, so Michael, man, thanks so much for being part of this video. And man, I can't say enough cool things about this guitar. This is like unbelievably cool, but you know, what was going on back then that led to this guitar? How did this come about?
That's a great question, Max. Steve Vai had just released the Gem, and he had that part in the guitar where you could grab it. And at that time, I was in Nitro. And so Jim Gillette and I were talking about it because at that time, our record company wanted me to challenge him to a duel on the double guitars. And then, so we thought, okay, he's taken something from me. Let's take something from him. And it was kind of like a friendly competition because I never really took that serious about the duel. The label did, but that's an Olympic event. That's not what I consider guitar. So Jim Gillette is the one that actually designed the rocket with me. And what he said, he goes, dude, Vai's got this grip on the guitar. Let's put a grip on it. So the wood that you see on the bottom of the V's is our answer to Vai. Now, it didn't actually work like that, but that was our idea, that we had something to grab too, like his guitar. And then I've always been into extended range instruments. 7 strings from the Nitro days, 36 frets. So we knew we were going to make it 29 frets. But here's the cool thing. I've been very fortunate. I've had guitars built by some of the greatest guitar luthiers that have ever lived. Charvel, the man. Grover Jackson, the man behind Jackson. So anyway, Wayne was building all my guitars. And he goes, Mike, I've got some military grade aircraft aluminum. And he goes, I'd like to use it on a guitar. And Jim and I go, and I go to Wayne, I think we have the guitar for you. So the actual, I've got it somewhere. I'd have to really look for it. But the original drawing of the rocket was done by Jim Gillette. And so we were sitting there. We lived in Woodland Hills. I remember this just like it was yesterday. We're sitting at the kitchen table in our apartment, and beautiful place, Canoga, and off the 101 there, and Warner Center Apartments. And we start drawing, and he was really good at these. So we drew the rocket virtually identical to what you see there, the actual shape. We added those bars And then I told Wayne, I said, Wayne, can you do this? I said, 29 frets of death. And Wayne said, sure. And then what Wayne did is he added the military aircraft aluminum on the top, and then, put all the rivets in, and he did all those intricate beveled edges. And then what he did was really cool. He never listened to me on pickups. I could tell him I wanted whatever I wanted in a guitar. He would go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And he put in whatever he wanted. But on the original Rocket, we had a hard time duplicating this on the production version, the limited run. He had that neck position pickup right up to the 29th fret, as you can see. But whatever the pickups were, they were really hot. And they, because if you look at a traditional guitar, that's actually in the middle position. It's so far back. And so he made it so it sounded really close to a neck position pickup. I don't know how he did it. He never told me what pickups he used. I asked him, he said, I had these laying around. He would never really say. But that's the origins of the Rocket. And, I loved space age looking things. I've always been into science fiction. But when Jim and I started talking about it, we wanted guitars that were unique to our band. The quad guitar that was made out of that aluminum too. And Wayne the thing is, Wayne was so good, Wayne Charvel. I mean, he's a genius luthier. He did Eddie Van Halen's guitars, ZZ Top. So we could tell him something, and just by a drawing, he could realize it. He could make it come to fruition. And so that's really the origin of it.
So there were 2 original ones, and then you said was it 200 of the reissues?
Yes. And everybody, I can say this, I'm not with Dean Guitars anymore, but it was when Elliot, the really cool owner, was before he passed away. Everybody at Dean hated that guitar except for him. I mean, they're like, this isn't going to sell. This sucks. No one's going to buy it. And Elliot looked at me one day. He goes, I'm going to show everybody. He goes, they're going to buy it and they're going to like it. We couldn't keep them in stock. We put this thing out, they were gone. And that's it. So Elliot was right.
I remember, there have been some clips that I've seen, like, from back in the day. Like, I know you used the originals in some music videos, and I think there's a classic Headbangers Ball clip where you played one of these too. I mean, it must have just blown people's minds when they saw this, because there's nothing like this. I mean, there has never been anything like this, certainly not back then and even today. I mean, this thing really stands apart.
Yeah, thanks. It's so striking to see it. Even today, there's really not guitars that they don't look like that. It's like it's like my original doubles. It's once you see it, people can do other double guitars, but just the idea of this, it's like, wow. And that's what we did with the Rocket. But got to give Jim Gillette a lot of credit on this. He was the one that really helped. I told him, let's make it a V. And, he was the one, but kind of like how we wrote songs. We were a really good team, but he was the one who did the initial drawing. He did a really nice drawing of it, very symmetrical, and he hand drew it. We gave it to Wayne, and this is what we got.
Well, awesome, man. I mean, I've played this guitar before, and I love playing this thing, and it sounds as amazing as it looks, but obviously I want everybody watching the video to hear it as well, so I'm going to plug this thing in now and do some shredding with it. But Michael, thanks a ton for being part of the video, man.
Thanks, Max. See ya.
Okay guys, so as Michael was saying earlier, there are only about 200 of these guitars made, and occasionally you can still find them for sale on the used market. Personally, I love having this guitar just to play and to look at, and of course, just to have it in the background of some of my videos, because people see it back there and they're like, dude, what is that rocket guitar? Now, as crazy as it sounds, there are actually some pretty practical features of this guitar. Now, for one thing, with the rocket shape, right, it's actually one of the few sort of V-shaped guitars that you can play sitting down, because the bottom part here is flat. It's just a straight, it's a straight line. So when it goes on your leg there, it keeps the guitar totally horizontal, and it doesn't actually slide in either direction. It just sits there on your leg. Also, despite the crazy shape, the guitar actually balances pretty well. And of course, I love the guitarist intimidation factor of this guitar. I mean, I would love to take this to like a rehearsal or an audition and just show up and freak out the other guitar players. Also, it's got 29 frets, right? And sometimes guitars with extended fretboards, you know, they don't have a good enough cutaway where you can actually reach all of the frets. But because of the shape of the body, you know, you can have your hand here on the neck, and as it comes up, you can actually pretty comfortably reach those super high frets. And of course, if you're doing tapping licks on them, then it's a piece of cake. And even these super high frets, I mean, it is difficult to get your fingers in there, but the frets, you know, they don't choke out or anything like that. Like, you can still actually play these frets. And yes, you can actually hold it from the back of the guitar. So yeah, guys, for my money, I think this is probably the most insane production guitar ever made. Did I mention that the case for it, the hard case for it, is like 6 feet long? I know there's a couple guys out there in my sort of regular audience that own these guitars as well. So I'd love to hear from you guys. You know, have you ever like played a show with one of these or anything like that? This one here, I ended up buying this on the used market, of course, about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I gotta say, I've never had buyer's remorse on it. Ever so often, I pull this out of the case and I look at it and I just think, yeah, I can pretty much stop collecting guitars now. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really think that, but I do love this guitar. Okay, guys, let me know what you think of the rocket guitar down in the comment section below. And I want to give, again, a really big thank you and shout out to the man himself, Michael Angelo Batio. In case you guys don't already know, he's got a really fun, really cool YouTube channel, and where he does like videos on technique and answers questions, like live streams and that kind of stuff. It's really good stuff. So I'm going to put a link down for his channel in the video description below. Okay guys, thanks a ton for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you soon.